you so much. It's really my honor to share with you my heart and share with you the research, and it was an absolute blessing to speak to the learners. They really did receive me well, and I do talk about sensitive topics, and I do have to call a spade, unfortunately. But all right, so tonight the PowerPoint presentation will be different than what I shared with the children, just because it is a different level for you. And also just need to understand what is going on, what do you need to understand about screen time, why a device is not a good idea, or let me rephrase, why a device without supervision is not a good idea. And then obviously, ultimately, then what to do. What to do if you go home tonight and you do check your child's phone and you do find pornography, for example. What do you do? Do you freak out? Do you block everything? Do you take the device? Do you punish? What do you do? You know, so because this is our reality, and something that I said this morning to the children, you must understand, we as parents never grew up with these things. We have no point of reference to what to do, how to deal with it. We have no understanding of what you are going through, and this is really real. Please do not say to your teenager, I know what you are going through, because I really do think that you do not know what they are going through, because life for them is very, very different than life was for us when we grew up. So, all right, I just want to start. There we go. So tonight, I just want to start with an introduction. Okay. Statistics, what is happening to a generation, rewiring of the brain, 4 fundamental dangers, and the solution. So let's start with the introduction, and my introduction is going to be a short story about children moving to Mars. Imagine your 9-year-old is chosen by a billionaire for a permanent settlement on Mars. She signed up secretly, and then she begs you to let her go. But before refusing to let your girl just go to Mars, where no one have lived before and she's just signed herself up to go there, you decide for yourself, listen, let me learn more about Mars. You find stories of other parents facing similar dilemmas. Captivated by Mars' promise of excitement and belonging in a digital utopia, the appeal is strong, instant gratification, endless entertainment, and a sense of belonging. So what is the allure of a life on Mars? So you learn that children are recruited because they adapt better to Mars. Growing up there would make them perfectly suited for its condition. Life on Mars promises perfection and limitless possibilities, far more appealing than a life on Earth. But what is these hidden dangers than a life on Mars? So however, you discover the darker side. Children on Mars face severe anxiety, depression, and isolation despite the fact of constant connectivity. The pressure to maintain a perfect online persona leads to burnout and a loss of self-worth. Moreover, the radiation and low gravity pose significant health risk, including deformities and developmental issues. So, would you let her go? The obvious answer is an absolute no. Sending children to Mars is an insane idea. The project leaders seem ignorant of child development and safety. Worse, the company doesn't require parental consent, raising significant ethical and legal concern. No company should endanger children without parental consent, or they would face massive liabilities. Right? But is this what is going on? Children is living on Mars. Children is living reality for a life on Mars, and sometimes with the parents knowing it. You know that if you have to put a new pill on the market, and within a year of putting this new pill on the market, 30% of the people using that pill is committing suicide. and is suffering from anxiety and suffering from depression and self-harming themselves, would you give that pill to a child or to a person? And also, what would legislation do? Legislation will force the pharmaceutical company to take that pill from the market, isn't it true? So if the research for social media is worse than that, why didn't they take social media off the market? You must understand where we are today, and I've told these children the same thing this morning. You must understand that Mark Zuckerberg, who is the founder of social media, basically is being prosecuted on a federal level. Because Mark Zuckerberg knew exactly what was happening to the mental health of children. He knew from the beginning. You know, 100 years ago, when they promoted cigarettes, you know, all these, Tex-Mex and Texan and I don't know cigarette brands, I don't smoke, obviously, but you know, all these famous Lexicon and what, Camels and Camel filters. But I've never seen the articles for myself, but when I go back and read these advertisements, you know, you will see there was doctors, people with doctors' jackets and nurses, and then the advertisement will say, after a long, stressful day at work, the doctor will take a cigarette to relax. And then you will see that they prescribed cigarettes to pregnant women because it helped with nausea. And later on, only when people were dying of lung cancer and throat cancers and tongue cancers, and these tobacco companies were sued, you realize that they knew. All along, they knew about the dangers. They knew what tobacco was doing to mankind, and they squashed the research. We are exactly there, where the people who designed these apps and designed social media and games and the things like that, they knew what was happening to mankind. But they were making billions and billions and billions and billions. For, in return, your child's mind. You know, when Steve Jobs first presented the Apple iPad at a TED conference, there was a lot of people there, and at the end of about a 20-30 minute talk where he presented the Apple iPad and all the fancy functions that an Apple iPad can do, one of the people in the audience asked Mr. Jobs, he said, Mr. Jobs, what does your own children think about the Apple iPad? You know what his answer were? My children are not allowed on any digital device until they are 16 years old. You know that Bill Gates also forbid these children to go on any form of digital device. He went as far as he was putting his own children in Waldorf schools. Now, a Waldorf school is a school where there is no electronic devices allowed whatsoever. So why will Bill Gates send his own children to Waldorf schools, but in return, he is manipulating and using your child's brain? All for the sake of money. So, all right, let's see, where are we now? So, what is happening through the ages? So, how did children go to Mars? So Gen X, it is the people born between 1965 and 1980. All right, so the millennials is the Gen Y. They are about 30 years old now, and then the Gen Zs, they are the one born between 1995 and 2000, and then the lastly born is your Generation Alpha, or also what they call your iPad kids. So throughout the generations, you see a massive, massive, massive shift. And if I have to ask you, what did you do when you grew up? What did you do when you were, when it was school holiday? Probably the same as I did. I grew up on a farm, so when it was school holiday or weekends, my mother dressed me en my ma het vir my mieliepap gegee. Ek is grootgemaak op mieliepap. So I got fed breakfast in the morning, and then she said one thing, go play. Or she said to me, I don't want to see you. That was me, and this is really what we did. We played. We met friends with the bicycle somewhere. And luckily, if we were lucky, someone's mother fed us some peanut butter and jam sandwiches for lunch. And we had some oros somewhere. And our cue for going home was when the street lights came on. Or someone's mother said to you, listen, it's dark outside. I think your mother is looking for you. And then, all right, you go home. And it wasn't something strange for you to come home with no skin on your knees. And your mother will say, oh, all right, just go bath or whatever, you know. So we played, and we had unsupervised play. And yes, we do get hurt. And yes, we were naughty. And yes, we fell out of a tree and broke our arms. And this is what we did. We had a play-based childhood. And from the Gen X to the millennials to the Gen Zs, they shifted from a play-based childhood to a screen-based childhood. And this is where the problem lies. So that's why your Gen Zs, and probably this will be most of your children, if your child is 13 and older, your child is a Gen Z, and they are currently known as the most anxious generation in the history of mankind. Because your Gen Xs, the Gen Zs, went through puberty on a tablet or on a screen. And now with your old iPad kids or your Generation Alpha, this is the children 13 years and younger. They are the first generation of children who had iPads for a babysitter. All right, so there you see the millennials. And a lot of you that is millennials, between 30 and 40 years old, you understood what technology is used for. When you got your first iPhone, you were probably about 20 years old, like me, and you had a Nokia phone, true? Yeah. You remember the Nokia phone. You remember that although we could reach each other and SMS each other and speak to each other, we were not connected to the internet. And actually, we were fine. We still could communicate with each other. Can you remember that ABC were on number 1 and DEF on number 2? And like typing like a madman. See you now. And then later on we got the BlackBerry, isn't it true? And then BBM started, and we thought like BBM is like next level crazy. So we grew with technology, and most of us will still use technology for what it was initially intended to be. I use technology a lot, but I use my Gmail and I use my Google Maps, and it's true. But there's almost like this understanding of technology for us, where children today are using technology for something completely different. So what happened to the Gen Z? So 2009, high-speed broadband came into existence. Again, the likes and retweets and the share buttons came right after that, and that changed the dynamic of a life online completely. They devote a large part of their consciousness to managing what become their online brand, posting carefully curated photographs and videos of themselves. You must understand that the average teenager gets about 170 to 190 notifications a day. We touch our phone almost 2,600 times a day. The average teenager's screen time is about 9 hours a day. If a teenager have 24 hours, like we all do, and 7 hours is spent in school, and 9 hours is spent hopefully sleeping, and then the rest of the day, hopefully there should be homework done and exercising and things like that. How do you have a full hour, 24-hour workday, and you take 9 hours of that day and let them still have a normal childhood? How is that possible? Where do they get the 9 hours from? From sleep. Not sleeping enough. Or they bring that device to the school, and instead of concentrating, instead of listening, instead of taking notes, they are obsessing about their phone. And yes, some schools do have a policy saying that the child is not allowed to take out the phone, but they still have the phone with them. So the average teenager, say, will take up to 80 selfies a day, and the selfies started with 2010. when the iPhone 4 came out and the front-facing camera came out. So when the front-facing camera came out, something happened, where the average teenager will take up to 80 selfies to filter and edit that one picture, to put that one picture on Instagram, and instead of concentrating on schoolwork, they are obsessing about that one image. Who is liking me? What is the comments? What is the shares? And building a whole identity on other people's comments, other people's remarks. Who of you will, for example, get a baby, put that baby in a playpen to play, and put a window to that baby's playpen and allow the whole world access to that baby? Who of you will have a teenage daughter? And that teenage daughter in a room is a window. And in that window is a possibility for the whole world to look at your daughter. You must understand that when you give your child a phone, you are not giving your child access to the world, you are giving the world access to your child. We are the #1 most internet-addicted country in the world. Human trafficking is the fastest growing industry in the world. We are a hub for human trafficking. We have international borders, we have international harbors, we have international airports. There is a child disappearing. Some research say every 2 minutes, other research say every 5 minutes a day a child is disappearing. The average life expectancy of a child who's been human trafficked is 7 years. And now, also what has become very, very popular, when they traffic a child, if that child is not trafficked for the sex trade industry, they are killing these children for their organs. Understand that the difference between the drug trade, for example, and the human trade is if you are trading drugs, a percentage of the product or your turnover have to go back in buying more product to resell. But if you buy a human being, you only buy that product once. And you resell, and you resell, and you resell, in extreme cases up to 20 times a night. Predators is so real in South Africa. There is actually a gang, Nigerians in this country, calling themselves the Yahoo Boys. And I'm going to show you later on how they use AI technology, how they use your child's face, how they use game platforms, Discord, Fortnite, Roblox, Minecraft, how they are using these platforms as a hunting ground for children. The #1 hunting ground currently for pedophiles is the Fortnite platform. So yes, this is real. This is my life. This is what I do. I work in the counseling room every single day. Every single day. And sometimes the only thing that I can do is I can cry with the parents. Sometimes the only thing that I can do is I can take this child's hand and pray with them and beg God, please, please, Father, restore this heart. Please, Father, help this boy. Please, Father, heal this heart. And you have to understand, I know that you are under a lot of pressure to give devices. I know that sometimes you feel in your heart, listen, this is not the right thing to do. I cannot give my child a device. But now because all the other children are having devices, and your child said to you, but everyone is having a device. Everyone is on TikTok. I'm being left out, or I'm being bullied because I do not have one. Then you succumb to the pressure because everyone else. You know that there is legislation currently in America where 3 states in America want to push the legal age of social media up to 18. Currently, the age for social media is 13. And you know that they literally just grab that number 13 out of thin air. There's no research done. There's no reason or reasoning behind the 13. Actually, what happened is that when social media went into the open market, the marketing companies were targeting children because they were easy. And then some of them were saying, listen, but what is a proper age for marketing companies to target the children? And someone just said, all right, let's make it 13. And senators and whoever agreed, and they said, all right, the legal age of social media is 13. So actually, technically, a child under the age of 13 is not allowed even on social media. Internationally, they are moving with a movement that they call wait until grade 8. So wait until grade 8 say that wait at least until 14 when you give your child a phone. And when you give your child a phone, when your child goes to high school, give your child a flip phone with no internet access, and then wait until 16 when you allow social media because of this. It is very, 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 very intentional. The devil comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And actually, if you are interested in something like Bible prophecy, and you are interested in what's going to happen in the last days and Revelation, you will understand what an important role AI is playing into the last days. If you're going to go into technicalities and you go into the statue of Daniel, the last age is the feet, which were clay and iron. How will the people in the last days see the image of the Antichrist without AI technology? So the worst is still to come. These glasses, goggles, it's still on the way. So you have to understand tonight and today what is happening, how this is evolving. Do not be ignorant about the schemes of the devil. Because the thing is, I know that you probably didn't know. And especially some of the black communities where they will come to me, the mothers or the fathers will come to me and say, you know what? I grew up very, very poor. And when I grew up, I made a vow that whatever I did not have as a child, I will give to my child. Thinking that giving my child a phone is helping them. Giving my child a phone is advancing them in life. Not understanding that giving your child a phone is actually harming them so much more. Please do not think that your child will have an advantage in getting a phone at 3 or 5 or 6 years old. Actually, science has proven that, because there is some schools that will say that, all right, let's learn children how to read from age 5 or 6 and write. Where research is proven, actually, it really doesn't help. There is no scientific evidence at all that a screen and screen time and gaming is good for children. Nothing. Some research will say to you that gaming is good for children's spatial orientation, and gaming is good for children's reaction time and response time, and gaming is good for small, your small movement, whatever they call it. But now, if it's good for spatial orientation and it's good for reaction time, and your child have to sit on his behind and study and learn and understand, what does spatial orientation and reaction time helps? Next. So please do not be deceived in thinking, yeah, but if my child play Minecraft, he will be a good architect one day. Minecraft is not teaching your child anything. Roblox is not teaching your child anything. It's just a very, very, very addictive device. So all right, let's continue. So the iPad, kids, This is children's playgrounds today. Going into a restaurant, for example, Spur. Spur is supposed to be a family restaurant, which is supposed to be a place where children play and can make a noise. And then you go into Spur because it's a family restaurant, and there you find the families in Spur, amazingly. But the mother is on the phone, the dad is on the phone, the teenagers are on the phone, the children are on their phone, and nowadays they also have the cans on their ears. So there is the happy family at a restaurant, and they are not even making eye contact, not communicating with each other, not spending time. Why go out? Why go out to eat? Why go out for a family lunch? And this is what we see. And I want to show you quickly a video, what we are saying, what is happening currently to your Generation Alpha children. So this is a very, very long video. It's about 15 minutes or so. I want to show you about 5 minutes what we are seeing with children, what is happening with children, and then we're going to move on. All right, thank you so much.
Have you ever seen a child react like this?
Hey, no, give me the iPad.
After a phone or tablet was taken away from them?
What? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?
Because we just investigated this trend.
Mommy, what? Mommy.
Oh, not right now. Mama, will bring the iPad back later, okay?
And the results are disturbing. Nightfam, if this reminds you of a kid in your life right now, you definitely cannot skip this video. And the data I'm about to share with you is essential for anyone living in today's time.
He's just always in his own world. He really quiet for real unless he know you.
This is the dark future of iPad kids, also known as the Generation Alpha.
Apparently, this 8th grade kid cannot spell a single word correctly on this list.
We're talking about anyone in your family who is 13 years old or younger right now. Kids who were born at the same time as the iPad in 2010. Kids who at 8 years old already had their first phone. And they're the only humans in the history of the world to have grown up with a gadget as a babysitter.
Mama, I'll bring it back, okay?
I mean, some of these kids haven't even experienced what it's like to get dirty and play outside with neighbors. They literally cannot comprehend a life without social media. And sadly, their parents have chosen the easy way out, using the iPad to shut them up. And don't get me wrong, I can kind of understand you. Many of you parents are just tired. That's why you do this. At least I want to hope so. But see, the temporary relief of 5 minutes when you're letting a gadget take care of your crying child has a permanent curse in exchange, and it lasts for a lifetime. And it's important to say that this isn't just my opinion. This is data. Just recently, school teachers came out saying these iPad-raised kids are doing really bad.
Teachers who have taught their entire lives are just up and quitting their jobs now because they can't handle these kids anymore. The iPad kids are out of control.
They can easily tap on touch screens, but cannot do basic things like reading or writing.
They quite literally don't have the muscles built in their hands to write properly or have the stamina to write because these kids weren't using their hands enough as children.
They tend to also get lower scores on language and critical thinking. And sure, they know how to navigate digital apps, but in exchange, they are years late in their education.
So this is just an idea. This video of the iPad kids is on the internet, and go and check it. And then how this video explains that. And it also have an interview of teachers in there where teachers say that, listen, teaching these children today and teaching children 10 years ago is not the same thing. where you get some of these iPad kids, these children under the age of 13 that cannot hold a pen properly. They cannot sit in a chair because their big muscles and their skeleton have not developed properly because they were not playing outside and jumping on a trampoline and climbing on trees. Where they say that these children are literally stupid, like dumb. And when you go and check the brain scans, you will see the literal decline in the white matter and the gray matter of a child's brain, where they cannot make eye contact, they cannot socialize, they cannot read non-verbal cues because they grew up with a flat thing in front of them. So my heart is not to judge anyone or to condemn anyone or to throw stones to anyone. I am just as guilty. And I explained to these children this morning, how am I just as guilty? But somewhere we need to say, what do the English people say? Wake up and smell the coffee. Somewhere we need to understand something is happening to a generation of children. Your anxious generation was the biggest experiment in the history of mankind, where they flooded these children with social media and tweets and shares, where they flooded them with a front-facing camera, flooded them with Twitter and Instagram and Netflix and everything thinkable, and say, hoo-hoo, let's see what happened. And now, I'm going to show you the research. We now see what is happening. All right, but now what now? What do we do? Because we need to do something. If it's true, and it is true, that we are the most internet-addicted country in the world, why are we rolling out everything on digital devices? Where your first world countries is now going back to as it was before. Where your first world countries is now restricting or blocking or make it illegal to take phones to school. Where it is illegal in a country like China to game after 8 o'clock at night. So I do understand, for example, that this school used their tablets for the handbooks. All right, so let's use it for the handbooks, but what about the rest? Then let's block internet. Or let's block the social media, or let's help them not to get exposed to pornography. Because this is the biggest risk, children getting exposed to pornography, and I'm going to talk about it just now. So yes, the invention of the internet is amazing. If I have to ask you who thinks that the invention of the internet is absolutely stunning, all of you will say yes. And if I have to ask you who thinks that social media and TikTok and Instagram and Pinterest is out of the pit of hell, most of you will say yes. And you know what is the scary part? If you ask a teenager, do you think that social media and TikTok is ruining your life? Almost all of them will say, yes, it does. Then you ask the next question, but why? Why don't you put it down? Because everyone else has it. So if I put it down and I'm the only one who puts it down, I will be left out. If I'm the only one that doesn't have TikTok or Instagram, then I will be bullied and mocked. But what if everyone will put it down? What then? Then your teenager will say, all right, if everyone is putting it down, I will be glad to put it down. So the other day, I was in a conference like this, and a mother said to me, all right, but her boy is 9 or 10 years old, I can't remember, and the whole group of friends is playing Roblox. So that is where the friends is meeting on Roblox, and that is where the communication is happening. So if she is taking away the child's tablet or the child's phone, and he's the only one who doesn't play Roblox, he will be left out. And it's true, he will. But what if all the mothers can come together and say, let's all stop Roblox? Let's all the mothers say, listen, not one of you boys are going to play Roblox, you're going to play outside. Because what has happened, we shifted from a play-based childhood to a screen-based childhood. And this is what is happening. So we have overprotected children in the real world, thinking that it's very dangerous out there, hovering over them like helicopters. Not allowing them, oh, don't do this, you're going to get hurt. Oh, do not jump on that, you're going to fall off. Oh, do not climb on the trees because you're going to break your leg. Overprotecting them in the real life, but we've given them screens and say, there you go. Not protecting them on where it really, really is necessary. They are risk adverse and it disrupts the physical development. Children are suffering from anxiety, depression, self-harm, and related disorders at levels higher than any other generation in the history of mankind. So what we see in girls is different. We see in girls that are depressed and anxious, cutting themselves, hating their lives, being socially isolated, and what is happening in boys is what we call a failure to launch, where they are 30 years old or 40 years old and still living at their mother's house, not doing a good work, thinking that they are one day going to become the best gamer or an influencer or a YouTuber. Just totaal onrealisties oor wat gaan aan in die werklike lewe. So yes, so there is a decline in math, reading and science. They are less likely to get jobs. And there is a huge surge in loneliness and friendlessness. My own daughter, she's 20 years old, and she's now first-year law student at University of Pretoria. And for the first time, so initially when my children were young, I was like the crazy mother. Ek was soos freaking Godzilla as dit kom by screens. So, in geval, they fighted me all the way and I fighted back. But the other day my girl came to me and she said, you know what, Mom? I am lonely at the University of Pretoria. There is like 26,000 students a day at the University of Pretoria and she's lonely. And she said, for the first time I begin to understand what you are saying because I do not know how to make friends. And she admitted it where she says, listen, I have no idea how to go to someone and say, hi, my name is Kristen, can I sit with you? Because she has such a fear of rejection, such a fear of shame, because that is what social media was teaching her. If you are not skinny enough, if you are not hot enough, if you are not rich enough, if you are not pretty enough, you will be ridiculed and mocked and shamed. And why do they do that? Why do they put pictures out there of themselves knowing that they are opening up themselves for shame? But there's absolute need to be accepted. And how it is so contrary to what the Word of God is teaching us, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that God loves you. Zephaniah 3, where the Bible says that God sings songs about you and He dances about you. You know, die kleerlinge sê, die Here tikkie draai oor jou. Hoe mooi is dit? Die Here tikkie draai, hulle verstaan nie eers dit nie. That God loves you so much. When you were formed in your mother's womb, the Lord already knows you. And He has a plan for your life, and He has chosen you, and He has set you apart. And they are exchanging that for the brutality of a life online. If you are the one buying the phone, you are the one paying the contract and the data, and you are the one paying the Wi-Fi, then you are just as guilty. You are the drug pusher then. Because at some stage, we have to be the parent. At some stage, we have to say, I do not care if you hate me right now. And I say this often to my own children. If you hate me for doing the right thing, then you can hate me. Somewhere you will need a pair of sneakers, or you will need a new whatever. Then you will like me again. And it's true. But this whole thing also that mothers think that they want to be the girl's best friend. There is a movement like that. But you cannot be a friend and a mom. Because a friend will tell you what you want to hear. A mom will tell you the truth. And in my own life, you know, my one daughter, she's built a bit rounder. And I love it to bits, you know, and one day she came to me and she asked me, Mom, did I pick up weight? Truth is, she did. But if I was her friend, I would say, no, you look hot, my girl. That is what a friend will tell you. A mom will say, my girl, I'm sorry, if you want the truth, yes, you did pick up some weight. And she hated me in that moment, but you know what? She lost that weight. Some way we need to be the parents again. And I also know that it is difficult, especially if you are like a blended family or a divorced family, where one set of parents is very, very strict about screen time and another parent wants to be the popular parent. So I understand we live in a difficult world, but somewhere you must understand that one day you will stand in front of God. Because your children is borrowed to you. It's not your children, it's God's children. They were borrowed to you to raise. And then God is going to ask you, listen, present me your children. And then you have to present your children to God as a sacrifice. So yes, some way we have to say to our children, I'm sorry that you're going to hate me right now. Because that is what will happen when you go home today, and hopefully a lot of you will go home and say, we have to have a family meeting. There is some new rules and new regulations and new screen times. We have to talk about this. The first thing that your child will say to you, but why do you hate me so much? What did I do wrong for you to punish me like this? But then the next question I have to ask you is, if I have to ask the parent sitting here, please, will you take out your phone and let's go through it one by one. What is your screen time today? What's your screen time? What's your screen time? What's your screen time? So what are you modeling to these children? If you get home after a long day and your children is running to you and mommy, mommy, or daddy, daddy, and you're like, let me just answer this quickly, or let me just speak to this person quickly, or let me just, please just leave me for a moment, let me just check my Facebook. I'm also guilty. But this is some hard questions that we have to ask each other. All right, so once young people began carrying the entire internet in their pocket, available to them day and night, it altered their daily experiences and developmental pathway across the board. Friendship, dating, sexuality, exercise, sleep. It's affecting the spirit man is severe, and AI and pornography is going to make it even worse. So there you see the research currently, what is happening with your generation, with your anxious generation, your Gen Zs. So in 2008 and 2010, you will see the statistics is still level. And then from 2010, there is this sharp incline. So this type of incline with regards to statistics and research, we call a hockey stick incline, where it is like this. So anxiety, 134% increase. Depression, 106% increase. ADHD, 72% increase. Just on ADHD, when you were a child, how many children were on Ritalin? We mocked the children that were on Ritalin. So I was ook a bully. But you know, this one or two that were on Ritalin was like, ha ha ha, did you drink your pilletjies this morning? You know, you were making fun of them. Today, it's easy to say that 50% of children in a class is on Ritalin or Concerta or Newcon or whatever. Do you know that excessive screen time is causing ADHD? So bipolar disorder, 50% increase, anorexia have doubled. Substance abuse or addiction, only 33%, schizophrenia, 67%. So we do see that since 2010, since social media and the iPhone and the selfie, since it came out, we see that something is drastically going on. So, 4 fundamental dangers that we have to speak about today. And this is actually written by a book with a guy with the name of Jonathan Haidt. He was studying the anxious generation. Unfortunately, this book is not available in South Africa, but if you go to Exclusive Books and you order this book, this will really, really, really help you to read. But he was saying social deprivation, sleep deprivation, fragmentation of attention, and addiction. Let's break it down. So social deprivation. You know that when God created in Genesis, we see that when God created, he said, it is good after everything. 6 times in Genesis we read, God says, it is good. It is good. And the 7th time, God said what? It's not good. Do you know the 7th time, God said it is not good? What was not good? It was not good for man to be alone. And Adam, he wasn't alone. Adam was probably the most connected man in the history of mankind. But God looked at Adam and God said it's not good for man to be alone. So man were created from the beginning for connection. Man were wired for connection. And this is the lie that social media is actually telling children, is that you are connected, you are popular, you have a lot of friends. And I want to tell you about a very, very interesting research that was done by a French philosopher and psychologist. I can't remember his name now. It's got a weird name. But anyway, he did a study on rats. And what he did is he took a very, very, very small cage, and he put a single rat in that small cage. And in that cage, he gave 2 types of water. He gave that rat clean water to drink, and he gave that rat opioid-laced water, like heroin water, to drink. And within a couple of days, that rat overdosed on the heroin water very, very quickly. Then the same guy did a second study where he built a massive cage, and he called that cage Rat Park. And in that cage, he put in rat families, but also playground and tunnels and lots of food, and it was an absolute Disneyland for rats. And in that cage of Rat Park, also he put in 2 types of water, clean water and opioid-laced water, heroin water. And not one rat in Rat Park overdosed on the heroin water. And actually, that research became the basis for treating addiction in Portugal. So interesting enough that Portugal at one stage were the country in the world with the most addicts. And what they did with addicts in Portugal is that they shamed the addicts, like we do as well. You know, we arrest them, we shame them, we put them in prison, we are not helping them. So what Portugal did is when they found an addict on the street, they legalized the drugs, so then they gave them the drugs, but they start tapering off the drugs. They also connected the addicts back to the families, and they also connected them into a job. And within 1 year, the drug addiction in Portugal dropped with almost something like 90%, something ridiculous, by just reconnecting these addicts. So the bottom line, what this study is proven, is that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. So when you disconnect your child from the device, connect him to something else. And this is actually what is one of the solutions, is that you cannot just take the device away. You cannot just take the gaming console away. When you take it away, there will be like an empty space, a gap in that child's day. Then replace it with something. Start replacing it again with hobbies and with sport and with time and with connection. And that is what children need. Children does not need entertainment. Children need engagement. They want you. They want time with you. Entertaining them is fascinating. Entertainment, and I'm going to show you, is, yes, it is secreting dopamine in their brain, and they do get addicted. But can I tell you that it takes 6 weeks to rewire that brain? 6 weeks since the moment you take away the screens and you start replacing it with positive things. The other day, I had a testimony of a mother, and she was attending a session like this, and her boy was completely addicted to Fortnite. And she took Fortnite away, and she started replacing it with tennis and with activities and inviting friends to come and play. And obviously this boy hated her, and he had meltdowns in the beginning, and he had withdrawal symptoms in the beginning. And she just stuck to her guns. And she phoned me one day, and she was laughing, this mother, and she said, you know what? And she had this personal chuckle. She said, when I arrived home, this boy was in the garage, and he took the bicycle that was, getting cobwebs and spider webs and dust all over. He said the boy was taking out the bicycle, and he was busy washing the bicycle and washing the hat and pumping the wheels. So at some stage, when you do not give an alternative of devices, of this instant gratification, instant quick fix, they will find the bicycles again. They will phone up the friends again. They will take out the Lego again. But if the Lego is not necessary, why will they go to the Lego? If a screen and a game is there for instant gratification and this quick dopamine hit, why will they build cities with the cars and the Legos? We did it. I played with my brothers with the cars, en ons het paadjies gemaak en graafgoedjies gegrou, tonnels gegrou, and we got dirty. We played. All right. So the promise of connectivity, and this is really an amazing article that was in the New York Times magazine, and it said the promise of connectivity, adults have allowed the dismantling of a secure base of attachment. The need for connection, support, and nurturing remains unfulfilled, resulting in a mental and spiritual health crisis. There is actually another article that says that we are creating psychotic junkies. And I want to say to you, and you must please hear me today, that screens is as addictive as heroin. Screens are as addictive as cocaine, and that is where we get the word digital cocaine from. Maybe some of you have read Brad Harrelson's book, The Digital Cocaine. Where does the phrase digital cocaine come from? Because when you take a brain scan of a cocaine addict, and you take a brain scan of a screen addict or a digital addict, and you put these brain scans next to each other, you will not be able to tell who is the cocaine addict and who is the digital addict. So the rule of thumb, what they are saying is that 2 lines, now 2 hours in front of the screen is the equivalent of 1 line of cocaine brain damage. So if the average teenager is on his screen 9 hours a day, how much cocaine brain damage does these children have daily? So sleep deprivation. So this is the second problem that we see with children, is that children is not sleeping enough. So the other day in the counseling room, this boy was sending to me for counseling because he's 9 years old, but he was very, very disruptive in class, not sitting still, obvious ADHD. He was bothering the children, making noises, and he was rebellious, hurting the other children, just like an absolute nightmare to the average teenager. And he was sent to me for counseling. And when he got to the counseling room, I have this big couch in my room, and he climbed up on the couch, and I could see, but it was 10 o'clock in the morning, this boy is going to fall asleep. I just could see it. So I was talking to him and asking him and just some background and what, and this boy told me that he stays with his grandmother and his grandfather. He says, but at night, he will drag his mattress to the grandmother, to the grandparents' bedroom, and then he will literally wait until the grandparents fall asleep. And the moment the grandparents fall asleep, he will take out his tablet, and then he will play Roblox on the tablet. So I asked him, all right, so until what time did you play Roblox this morning? He said, until 2 o'clock. He went to bed at 2 o'clock. So some of you, it is happening, and especially with the porn addiction. When there's a porn addiction, the children are sneaky. You think that you take the device, but then they will find another device. Or they will go to grandma's house. Or they will go to a friend's house and watch pornography there. The average exposure to a child with pornography is 9 years old. So if you have a child from the age of 9 and above, chances that your child have been exposed to porn is 100%. We have a huge problem with pornography. Please understand that when your child sees pornography, his brain have no point of reference. He have no clue what he is seeing. And it is instant trauma to that child's brain. Children coming to me with exposure to pornography, I do not treat them for lust or perversion or whatever. I treat them for trauma. And that image that he saw imprints like a tattoo on the brain. One day I also was counseling a boy, and I worked with him for quite a while. What happened to him, he was very, very young. He was about 9 years old when he was on YouTube watching other people game. So some of you will say no to the game, and then they will switch off the gaming console, and then they will go to YouTube and watch other people play game. That is still gaming. One is just active gaming and one is passive gaming. And he was on YouTube watching other people game, and here in the bottom of the screen, this boy told me, here in the bottom of the screen, up pops like a pop-up, and this lady, he says, this lady was swirling around the pole asking me if I want to chat. So when you are in front of your screen, two things is happening to the brain. Your prefrontal cortex, which is supposed to be the red light, is shut down. So your decision making is shut down and your arousal levels are heightened. And the gamers know this, and the porn industry know this. That's why they insert pornography in Roblox. That's why they put pornography in the gaming platforms, because the red light is shut down and the children's arousal levels are heightened. So he was on this gaming platform, and also his decision making was shut down. And here in the bottom of the screen, when someone asked this boy, do you want to chat? He said, yes, I want to chat. And he clicked on there, and up pops the pornography. So initially, because he was very, very young, he got the fright of his life, and he ran outside and he was sitting on his trampoline. And that is the right thing to do. You must teach your child, because your child is not when it's not if your child get exposed, it's when your child get exposed. Teach him. When you come across pornography, I want you to do 3 things. Turn, run, tell. Turn around and run away and come and tell me. So he did turn and he did run. He did the right thing. But he said, I was sitting on the trampoline and I was wondering, what did I just see? And he went back. And he became completely addicted. When he came to me, he was 13 years old. He watched porn up to 20 times a day. And I was working with this boy, treating this boy. And one day he was holding his head like this, and my heart gets sore when children get exposed to porn. Because sometimes the damage to these children is permanent. And this boy was holding his head like this, and he said, please just make it stop. Just make it stop. Just make it stop. And you know what? I can do a lot of things for children. I can help them with trauma, I can help them with the addiction, but you know what I cannot do? I cannot take away what they have seen. And it's your responsibility to be that watchdog. It's your responsibility to stand at that gate of that child's heart and protect that child's heart. You cannot give a child a phone and not check what your child is doing on that phone. You cannot give him access to the internet and WhatsApp and not checking who is talking to your child. I'm busy working with a girl. She's 20 years old. She paid 50,000 rand in blackmail money. So it's not just the kids. Sometimes it's us. So yes, I'm sorry for getting emotional, but this is my life. Trying to put away, put back like a piece of puzzle, broken children. And I'm grateful for God's word saying that I will heal the brokenhearted. So, all right, let's go on. So, sleep deprivation. And I want to read you this. During a conference in November 2023 held in Philadelphia, Sean Parker The founding president of Facebook said, the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. So I was telling the children this morning, you must understand, if something is for free, you are not the consumer. You are the product. And these applications are built like this. He said a week earlier, Ramsey Brown, the co-founder of Dopamine Labs, a California-based company that uses AI and neuroscience research to help companies to connect people to their apps, told a CBC News reporter, he said, we're really living in this new era that we're not just designing software anymore, we're designing minds. And take it back to the Word of God, that the Bible says that we have to have the mind of Christ. But here they admit that they are designing minds, or companies to make profit. He added, we need your eyeballs locked into this app as long as humanly possible, and they're all in a technological arms race to keep it there the longest. And this is what is happening to children and to you on social media. It is designed from the beginning to be highly, highly addictive. So you must also know that your device has a blue light. And the blue light of the device breaks down the melatonin in the body. And without melatonin, you do not have a day-night rhythm. That's why gamers can game throughout the night. It's because of this blue light. So also, I just want to go back to this one, and I want to say, is that children need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a day. 1 hour, 30 minutes before bedtime, you take the device away. And you should not allow any form of digital device in the children's bedroom. No technology, no games, no Xboxes, no computers. When they want to play the Xbox or the game, let them play it in the communal area. And when you take that device away at night and it's time for bed, then it's time for you to quickly go through the phone. Who is chatting to my child? Is there new apps downloaded? What pictures did he take? Go through the search history. Check quickly. And then your child will come to you and your child will say to you, but don't you trust me? Do you want to know the honest truth? You shouldn't. Because they are still young. They still have developing minds. They are curious. The devil comes to steal, kill, and destroy. So no. Be the spy. And if your child doesn't like it, then sorry. If there is a password on your child's phone and you do not know what that password is, then you lose the privilege of that phone. All right, fragmentation of attention, and it's called actually disruptive technologies. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, they are making billions out of reselling attention to advertisers. Please also understand, and I explain it to the children today, that when you are studying and you are concentrating on this thing, and your child gets an SMS or an Instagram notification or busy with music, and they switch their attention to this device and switch their attention back to whatever they are concentrating on, it takes the mind 23 minutes to get back to deep focus. So if they are studying for 3 or 4 hours a day, and they are multitasking the screens with the studies, and they take their mind 23 minutes to get back to deep focus, what does this 3 or 4 hours studying is helping them? Nothing. And then you get these long tears, and I get it in the counseling room, failing maths and failing science, because it's the very, very first place that you see something is going on is when the math mark is declining. And you get these long crocodile tears where they're saying, Mom, but I did study. I studied for this test. Why am I failing? And then I'm asking, all right, let's take out your screen quickly. Let me see. then it's 8 or 9 hours a day screen time. So if you have multitask, the hours studying with your screens, I want to say to you, your studying doesn't help you. For the matrics, it is prelims in what, a month's time. Do them a favor, and while they are studying, take the phones away. Do not let them tell you, but I need to listen to music while I'm studying. Research is proven that it's not possible. This is also an amazing, amazing study. It is done back in the 13th century by a German king, Frederick II. And he did a very, very horrible experiment. But what he did is he wanted to find out what language babies will naturally speak if they are not talked to since birth. So he took away newborn babies from mothers, but he said to the nurses who were looking after them, they were not allowed to speak to them. But he did a horrible thing as well. He said to these nurses, you are not allowed to touch or pick up these babies. You know that this king never found out what these babies, what language these babies will speak, because not one of these babies survived. All of them died. That is how much children need attention and touch and cuddles and kisses. They need it like they need oxygen. So quickly, just on addiction, and this is the last, last harm that I want to look at, is it is a behavioral addiction. So when I first started my research, one of the questions that I did ask, and that was 2009, is it possible to get addicted to something that's not a substance? And I want to say to you without a shadow of a doubt that it is 100% scientifically proven that you can actually get addicted to something that's not a substance. So how do you get addicted? So here in your brain, you will see there the nucleus accumbens. It is the pleasure center. So God has given us a pleasure center so that we will have pleasure. How amazing is He for us to enjoy life? There is a part of your brain for enjoyment. So your nucleus accumbens, or your pleasure center, secretes dopamine. So dopamine is the neurotransmitter or the chemical in your brain that the moment you do something that you like, your brain secretes dopamine. And for some, it's different. But I just want to show you what dopamine is doing. So there you can see that when you eat chocolate, your dopamine levels spike 55% above baseline. So we all have, like this, a balance of dopamine. So dopamine is always wants to be in balance. And what is amazing also that they found out from this study is that pleasure in pain is in the same part of the brain. All right, so when you eat chocolate, you'll spike your dopamine level 55% above baseline. So it's almost like the scale, it's tipping like that. So when you spike your dopamine 55% above baseline, unfortunately, it's not dropping back to zero. It's dropping to below zero. So then your brain experiences pain. You are in withdrawal. So when you are in withdrawal, what do you need to do? You need to eat that chocolate, or you need that cigarette, or you need that next beer, not for you to feel pleasure, but actually for your brain to get out of pain, to get out of withdrawal. So, well, I'm going to skip the next one. Nicotine spikes 155%, 150% above baseline. Cocaine, 225 above baseline. Amphetamine, that is your fentanyl that we're currently seeing in America as well. It's the most addictive substance. It spikes to 1,000% above baseline. But when you are in front of the screen, when you are playing games, or even when you are doing something that is not addictive, like playing chess or reading a book, your dopamine level spikes to 300% above baseline. So your screens is actually more addictive than cocaine. So yes, your brain wants pleasure. So what is happening is that when you are on social media, when you are playing a game, when you are on pornography, it's like the scale is tipping to the pleasure side. But like I said, your brain always wants to be in balance, or the fancy word is homeostasis. Your brain wants homeostasis. So what is happening, what I'm saying is that there is gremlins jumping on the pain scale or the pain side of the scale. So now you are in withdrawal. So what do you need? You need more screen time. You need more gaming. You need more pornography or more severe pornography. My husband was addicted to gaming for 20 years. So in the book, his testimony is written in the book. And at some stage that there was literally no more time to increase with regards to wanting more and more and more. So what he did, he moved to demonic games. And the same goes for pornography. You can only watch so many times pornography, so what do? You start watching more extreme type of pornography. You will always go to the extreme. So when you are in front of the screen for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, month in and month out, what is happening is that these gremlins will camp out on the pain side. And that is where the anxiety and the depression and the self-harm and the suicide is coming in. And when the brain is here, where it's have an impossibility or a onvermoë om plesier te ervaar, cannot experience pleasure anymore, you actually call it anhedonia. And some children are there, where they don't want to go outside anymore. They don't want to come to school. They hate school. They fight you every single day. They don't want to play soccer anymore. They don't want to visit their grandmother anymore. The only thing that gives them pleasure is in front of the screen. I took away a boy's phone, well with the mother and with parental consent, and that boy the next day, he came to me to the school, and he was sobbing. Like my whole shirt was like snot and trana. And he begged me. He said, please, ma'am, please, I'm begging you, sobbing. Please tell my mom to give me back my phone. It's the only thing that makes me happy. How do you get a 13-year-old that the only place that he finds happiness is in a virtual world? So at the end of the day, like in the first world countries and like America, at the end of the day, hopefully by the grace of God, I will be able to start this process to get legislation in place where we can ban phones and social media and gaming platforms from schools. Hopefully, we can also push legislation to make the legal age of social media 16. Hopefully, we can hold your pornography and your Pornhub and all those porn platforms accountable for what they are doing. We need legislation. We need education, and schools, obviously, like I say, a school is a good place to begin with because it is collective. There's a lot of parents, a lot of children, and if all the schools, imagine all the schools in Jeffreys Bay can say, listen, let's bring in this policy. Imagine all the children have to play. All the children have to go back to sport. All the children are not, when they are visiting each other, and it's true, the children visit each other and have play dates, and when you get there, then all the children are on the devices and they have not said one word to each other. Why have play dates? Just then stay home. And then parents. So a busy parents summary. So the best resources to learn about settings and what and apps and websites. So the best resource that I can give you if you are unsure about the game or an application or something that your child have downloaded, you can go to a website with the name of Common Sense Media. So Common Sense Media is a Christian website. There is a bar there. You put in the game or the app and it will give you all the answers that you need. Another one is Bark. Bark is also a very good resource. And if you think or suspect that there might be pornography in the home and you have no idea how to talk to your child about pornography, because you have to talk to your child about pornography from the age of 5. You don't have to give them all the detail about the birds and the bees, But what you do quickly is you teach them about a safe and an unsafe picture. A safe picture, and probably all the pictures on your phone is safe pictures. So when you go through your album on your phone, tell the children, this is a safe picture. Why is it a safe picture? Because everyone on mommy's photo album is clothed. Even if we are at the beach or if we are putting our costumes on, it is still a safe picture. And you are allowed to watch mommy's phone or anyone's phone who has safe pictures on. So what is an unsafe picture? An unsafe picture is when you come across a picture or a video and the people in the picture or the video is not dressed. Then it's an unsafe picture. What do you do if you see an unsafe picture? You turn around or you turn your back to the screen. You run away and you come and tell mommy and teach them about safe and unsafe. When they are older, you can add the definition of pornography to that. So what is pornography then? Pornography is an unsafe picture where the people in the video or in the pictures that you see is not dressed. I want you to come and tell me when you see porn. So one story is a mother teach her child this thing about a safe and unsafe picture, and he was older, he was 13 years old, and she explained to him and she gave him a definition of pornography. So this boy was invited to a play date with a couple of boys, and this mother's house who invited the boys for a play date, they were building onto the house. So basically the biggest part of the yard was the building site. So she converted the double garage in a sort of play area for the children. And one of the contractors proposed to, showed this one boy, and he called the boy, and he showed him pornography on the phone. And he asked this boy, do you want to go and do what is on this picture? This is how groomers work. They groom these children. And this boy was taught what is pornography and what is an unsafe picture. And he realized immediately, this is an unsafe picture. And he ran to his mother and he said, you know what, Mom, someone just showed me pornography. And a pedophile was arrested that day. So you are not, because a lot of children will say, yeah, but I am making them, inquisitive, or I don't want to, stimulate something, or what nonsense. It's not. You are giving them truth, and you are equipping them, and you are helping them how to help themselves when you are not there. All right, so the best tracking app, if you want to put a tracking app on your child's phone, it is Life360. Internationally, the best screen time monitoring app is an app with the name of Bark. So you can get free parental control app, Family Link, Screen Time, Net Nanny. Please go and search. There is a lot that you can use. So, no phones before high school. Wait until grade 8. Declare technology-free zones in your house. For the example, the dinner table, good example. No Wi-Fi devices in the bedroom. If possible, switch off your Wi-Fi router at night. If there's a gaming problem or a porn problem or a sneakiness, switch off the router at night. No social media until 13. New research is suggesting no social media until 16. Monitor screen time, set the limits and stick to it. So what is these screen time limits? Children under the age of 2, no screen time. You cannot give a baby a phone. Never ever. So from the age until 2, from 2 until 5, you can give them about 20 minutes a day screen time. Primary school children, 1 hour a day, maximum screen time. High school children, 2 hours a day. And if they already have their screen time during the school day, then they had their screen time. Then for the rest of the day, they play outside, or they do their homework, or they get a hobby, or they do something. And then over weekends, you can allow them then the gaming if they are not using their devices. Protect the child's privacy and identity online. Say no to Snapchat and TikTok. We have not talked a lot about TikTok. TikTok is a horrible app. If there is one app that you do say no to, it's TikTok. Please also be careful of Snapchat. So Snapchat works exactly like WhatsApp. The difference between Snapchat and WhatsApp is the moment you type a message on Snapchat and the other person has read the message disappears. So your pedophiles who is hunting the children on the gaming platforms will tell the children, let's talk on Snapchat. Because when you go into Snapchat, there is no chat history. No talking to strangers online. Choose 3 apps from which you can receive notification, mute or delete the rest. No passwords on phone that you do not know. Less than 200 friends on any application. All social media accounts must be private. Talk to children about bullying, what to do if they are bullied. Also make sure that your child is not the bully. Turn, run, tell, we talked about that. If they come across adult material, regular check-ins and conversation with your children about what they are up to online. And I think that is the last slide. All right. I've given you a lot. I know that this is a tough battle to fight. I know most of you sitting here is probably fed up with the battle with screens, with saying no and putting it down. But you know what? There is the Goldilocks effect. The Goldilocks effect is not too much, not too little, just right. So find that Goldilocks effect in your house. If things have gone too far, then go back to normal. Have that conversation, have that meeting and say, listen, I'm sorry if I have allowed too much.